Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm very happy to be here to be able to share the experience we've had in Finland with our very new national committee, and also very briefly I'll explain about the European Alliance, which is a European network of global change research committees. But mostly I will use my time in describing the activities of Future Finland. This is the outline of my talk today. So first I'll try to explain how we see our role in the Finnish society, increasing the influence of global change research nationally. I'll show our structure, what we look like, and then I'll devote most of my time in talking about our 4 activities that we have going on already, although we started only a couple of months ago. So we are an organization of experts, and what we see we should be doing is mapping and identifying national research needs in the field of sustainable development. In addition, we want to respond to these needs in collaboration with a wide range of stakeholders, and this stakeholder aspect is something we have taken very seriously from the start. We were established in May, so only a few months ago, and the initiative came from the Council of Finnish Academies, which in Finland is the liaising organization between scientists on the one hand and international programs on the other. We had a preparation phase of about a year. There we had 5 experts from natural social sciences and a future liaison, which was me, because I was and still am for a few months the executive officer of the IGBP core project ILIPS. Our national committee includes the former IGBP and IHDP national committees. We never had a diversitas national committee, so we have links to the upcoming IPBES panel to cover the biodiversity issues. That's one way we're doing it. Also, we have the representative of the WCRP National Committee as an ex officio member. They want to stay separate at least at this point. Our mission is to promote multidisciplinary and societally relevant global change research in Finland. We want to collect and produce information about the complex links and effects of global change. These links of global change are not really that well known in Finnish society at the moment, so we try to make a change there. We think that this kind of information will benefit both the scientific community and the society as a whole. We want to bring together scientists from various disciplines, decision makers, the private sector, NGOs and funders to identify research needs. Now this is something I'm going to repeat a few times during this presentation, because that's what we see as our main goal, to identify research needs together with a wide range of operators. We also want to discuss the best ways to produce solutions. In order to do this, we want to initiate and maintain a dialogue among the existing scientific expert panels. We have quite a few of them already. They are working on aspects of sustainability, but we are the only committee at the moment working entirely on global change, so we think that is an asset. This is our structure. We have a steering group of 9 members, plus chair. Initially, we wanted to have a smaller steering group, but we got so many good applications. There was such widespread interest that we had to actually expand it. We have high-level natural and social scientists and the most central stakeholder groups in this steering group. We have ministries and cities and municipalities, industry and economic stakeholders. And the chair, the chair for the first term is Academy Professor Markku Pulmala from the University of Helsinki. We have a secretariat with 2.5 paid people, and I say paid because it's something really important in Finland. I know the situation isn't necessarily the same in other countries, but in ours, many, if not all, of these expert panels are working with voluntary secretariats. So that's an issue. They do not have the time or actually the motivation to do everything they could. So we are very, very fortunate to have a secretariat with actual salaries. We also have a volunteer stakeholder coordinator. So much now for the structure and our general role. Now I'm moving on to the activities that we are doing. The first that we are doing is a seminar series on global change and Finland. This is a 2-year seminar series with 6 seminars planned for the next couple of years. We want to examine the global change phenomenon from an integrated perspective and study what a small country like Finland can actually do. In the blue oval, you can see some of the topics we will target: the phenomena of global change, the politics and ethics of it, what research can do, how research should be supported. We will bring in a few examples of solutions, and then throughout these 2 years and beyond, we will be concentrating on co-designed end products. We have a number of partners already involved. We have 3 ministries, the Ministries of Environment, of Agriculture and Forestry, and of Energy and Climate. We have the Interministerial Working Group for Research and Evaluation from the Prime Minister's Office, and this is very important because they are now for the first time managing new research funding, a block of a few million euros of new research funding directed to solution-oriented research. We have cities, climate networks of cities, we have universities, we have panels, and interestingly, we have a Horizon 2020 project called Public Engagement Innovations. This is a €1 million project of 5 countries, Finland is one of them, and their aim is to find innovative ways to bring people together and produce, for instance, end products of global change. They are interested in working with us on this seminar series. Also, we have representatives of the private sector in here. I chose this picture here because it's the exact opposite of what we are trying to achieve. Bored people looking at their papers. So this is something we try to avoid. We have all the partners I mentioned already involved in the design of this seminar series, and we will have them involved in the brainstorming of the co-designed end products. I want to stress this process of producing these short and long-term end products. They can range from policy briefs, which we can do in a few weeks or a few months, to something much more difficult, such as global change application software, rapid assessment protocols, and something that we feel is very interesting, a gatekeeper analysis on global change operators in Finland. That would be the bottlenecks for change in our society. This process is actually an aim in itself, because we want to use it to keep the participants of these seminars close to us, working together for a long period of time. And from this, we got the idea of borrowing a concept from industry called a living lab network. And we want to try and start such a living lab network for global change researchers and stakeholders in our country. Now, only this morning I heard from France that this is not actually a completely new idea to apply this living lab idea on research. So we are very, very happy to hear this, because that means that we can use other people's expertise and learn from other people's ideas. Okay, good, excellent. So I'll be looking forward to discussing this. But for us, this was a very new idea. And for those of you who don't know what a living lab is, in industry, it's a flexible user-driven network of open innovation. So it's typically used to develop products or services. Applied to global change research, we think that a living lab could be a long-term interactive network where producers and users of scientific results find each other regularly around relevant research questions. Now, this will of course require coordination or a boundary organization to hold it all together, and that's where we come in. We will start developing this living lab along with a couple of pilot projects over the next couple of years, and we've already had ideas for such pilot projects from our stakeholders. One would be, for example, industrial symbiosis in a fully recycling economy. And there we would try to assess how fluxes of material and energy can efficiently be used between different production processes. So the waste of one production process would be the raw material of the next one. One thing we've already learned is that a very important part of any project related to industry is to develop the relevant legislation simultaneously. So policymakers need to be involved from the start as well, because what our industry partners tell us is that sometimes they have developed a good sustainable development product, for instance, but legislation will inhibit them from using it. So this is something very important to remember. Thirdly, I mentioned that we have many panels and expert organizations working already at the Science Policy Interface in Finland. So we want to organize a networking event for them, and the timing will be the 4th of December. We have invited these organizations you can see here. And the idea, again, is to map and identify the research needs in collaboration with these panels. Also, we want to look at necessary actions in the field of sustainable development. We want to find effective ways of collaboration. We want to avoid duplication of work, and some ideas have already been brought up. One is chaining events on a particular topic, let's say recycling, which is a big trend in Finland now. One panel will organize an event, a liaising person from that event will bring the conclusions to the next event, which will be organized by another panel. So this way, chaining these results will hopefully result into something more than just having individual events not really linked to each other. So that's one idea. Another rather, interesting idea is to have a joint secretariat for all the panels. So that's something we will consider. Finally, my fourth example is co-design training for new strategic initiatives. I mentioned the Interministerial Working Group on Research and Evaluation at the Prime Minister's office. They have now completed the first round of this new research funding for solution-oriented research. This was for the first time. They are funding 18 successful applications, and as a prerequisite, they said to the applicants that the results must be accessible to the end users. However, when they evaluated the proposals, they found that their dissemination plans were actually rather traditional, not very innovative at all. But because this group is serious about getting results that can actually be used, they are going to organize 3 training events to these 18 applications or these projects. And they have invited us to introduce the concept of co-design to the project leaders and also to the research and evaluation group officials themselves. So we feel this is a $1 million opportunity to get to the government level and talk about co-design at that level. So we think this is very, very good. So much for Future Finland. I hope you now have an idea of what we are, who we are, and what we try to do. And now very briefly about the European Alliance. What we try to do in European Alliance, we try to bring the European national committees together. We have 2 levels of operation, national and European. And my final slide will be a graph of how we feel the European Alliance could fit in Future Earth. So some of you already know the European Alliance. It was launched a few years ago as a bottom-up association of the national committees of the 4 international global environmental change programs. Now it also includes Future Earth national committees, some of them. Now we have about 24 member countries. And these, or member committees, I should say, the committees are really varied. They vary from one national contact point to an individual GC program committee to fully integrated Future Earth committees. We have a new chair and a 2.5-person secretariat. It's actually the same one as for the Future of Finland, so we have great synergy potential there. On a national level, the thinking behind the European Alliance now is that since Future Earth aims not only at advancing understanding of global change issues, but also at contributing to solutions, and those solutions often take place on a national level, it requires understanding of local factors and an access to local decision makers and stakeholders. Now, this is something that's very difficult to do from abroad. It requires long-term relationships and trust between the operators in each country. And we feel that national committees can provide this understanding by acting as a link between the science community and the stakeholders. The Alliance therefore aims to support its members to develop their activities towards this direction. On a European level, we have a couple of long-term goals. Firstly, we would like to become a platform for science-driven discussion on global change with stakeholders to determine and highlight European priorities. This doesn't exist in Europe at the moment. A second long-term goal is to use this platform to organize joint input into research and funding strategy in Europe regarding sustainability and global change issues. We are thinking of Horizon 2020 work plans, which are updated every 2 years, and input is then requested from each member country. We are also thinking of joint programming, which actually entails much more money than the Horizon 2020 project. And in Finland, we have quite good links to several of these joint programming initiatives, so we think this is doable. On a short term, we want to organize joint input to fact sheets. So these are just 2 to 4 page documents aimed at national and European funders and policymakers. And this is something we want to do together with the Future Earth core projects. The first example we have, or we are going to try to do, is on extreme events and environments. And in that, we have as many as 6 core projects from IGBP and WCRP and IHDP, so human dimension, climate and biosphere, geosphere, plus an external group an ICSU program called IRDR, which stands for Integrated Research on Disaster and Risk. So this is something we are going to try to do. We will discuss all these things in our next annual meeting in October in Bern, Switzerland. This meeting is hosted by Proclin. Thank you very much for that. And all existing and future national committees are, of course, welcome. Represented in the meeting are the Future Earth Science Committee, the European Hub, the proposed European Hub of the Future Earth Permanent Secretariat, and we have a representative of the European funding landscape coming in talking about JPI Horizon 2020. So this is my final slide about the vision we have of how the national committees and European Alliance could work together with the core project and executive secretariat. Now, we think that the executive secretariat will do what the program secretariats have done until now, of course. So they will implement the future science priorities, they will liaise with and support the core projects, and they will facilitate co-design in any way they can. The core projects will, of course, keep working on integrative basic and applied science and connect with new science communities. But the national committees now could bring in for solutions information on local, political, economic, and cultural systems. They will bring in, or they can bring in, access to and dialogue with stakeholders and scientists, and on a European level, act as a platform for scientific discussion and influence the research strategies and funders. That was all from me. Thank you very much, and we look forward to collaborating with you.
Thank you.